Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive into America's Cup crew roles. We're going through all the AC teams and we're looking at their crew roles and responsibilities, and it's really interesting because there's some big splits in the philosophies between the teams. Today we're talking about American Magic, and again with me is Rob Gullen. Let's get into the details. Right, let's go on to American Magic because we'll leave the defenders till last.
Oh, just one more thing on Luna Rossa.
Okay, go for it.
But Shannon Falcone, born in England, moved to Antigua at the age of 3. So if Luna Rossa go on and win the America's Cup, at least we've got an Englishman in the team. So
Good call.
if Ineos can't do it, then maybe Shannon can do it for us.
Right, American Magic, their setup is my least favourite, to be honest, but they are seemingly doing very well. So what do I know? Go on. Do you want to talk us through who they've got on their boat?
So they have got Dean Barker driving the boat. So Dean was with the Japanese team last time, Team New Zealand for years before that. He's a Kiwi, so he'll know that stretch of water as well as anyone. And then, certainly from our Brit point of view, they've got Paul Goodison sitting behind him, trimming the main, and actually, by the sounds of the onboard, giving a lot of tactical input. So it's really good to see one of our top British sailors with a lot of responsibility in that team. So Paul's been to the Games and the Laser. He's got a gold medal, hasn't he? Yeah, in Beijing. And 3-time Moth World champion. So
yeah, probably my wild card pick for who is one of the most underrated kind of star players of this cup campaign.
Yeah, so Paul Goodison on the main sheet and giving a lot of input tactically, and he just sounds incredibly comfortable when you listen to the onboard, like really comfortable with the moding. And
marginal win at the moment, but unlikely. He's coming down. Nice there.
a real calm voice in the background.
Talk about full control, yeah.
So full control, they've got Andrew Campbell. So he went to the Games in London and a laser. He is interesting amongst the foil controllers here in that he doesn't change sides at all. He sits up in the starboard cockpit at the front and seems to be able to do everything he needs to from there. So having his weight on the starboard side is obviously good on one tack, a bit less good on the other. And I do wonder if he could do a swap around the front of the mast.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think their boat's set up for getting out those cockpits and going forward, though, because you look how deep that cockpit is at the front. I just can't see it happening. One thing about Andrew Campbell, though, and it's probably, I think, one of the real benefits to American Magic's setup, is that the flight controller is never moving, so the flight control responsibility never changes hands through any of the manoeuvres. So, you know, whilst I don't like the fact that they're asymmetric in terms of their setup from a visual point of view, this could be a real big advantage. You know, you've got one person fully focused on flight control, never leaving the spot, just, you know, head down, making sure that system's working the whole time. And they're the only team not to be passing that control baton around the boat. So, yeah, that could be a winning move from the Americans.
No, so, I mean, it does mean they have 7 guys on the starboard side when they're on starboard tack, which no other teams have.
But, yeah, I think, you know, very asymmetric setup on their boat with Andrew Campbell always on the starboard side. So they do look a bit crowded on starboard tack. Hutchinson, tactician, and he does talk quite a lot as well. He's always grinding, but sticks his head up quite a lot, and he's the most aft of the grinders on the port side of the boat.
So this is kind of an interesting question, and it's a bit of a broader question, but does the traditional match racing big boat yacht sailor in their, let's be kind and say 50s have a place on an AC 75?
Yeah, I don't know.
At a grinding pedestal.
Well, you need to talk to Giles Scott, because he's supposedly the fittest fin sailor on the circuit, and he's not even bothering to touch the handles.
I know.
And yet, American Magic have got their tactician who's in his 50s, spinning handles and having a calming word in the ear of Dean Barker.
Now,
So,
I do think there's probably a very good benefit to having someone like that, just for that kind of ongoing commentary of the race. So he must have the race software in front of him.
he must have something, but
He's calling all the distances to ley lines, calling all the splits, that kind of thing. So that ongoing commentary is pretty useful.
yeah.
But can't anyone learn to do that?
Yeah. I mean, he does give a bit of chat. And to be honest, I think so does Andrew Campbell. Like, I think when Terry Hutchinson, Dean Barker and Goodison are all on the port side of the boat, on port tack, I think Andrew Campbell kind of spots pressure a little bit for them out to the starboard side. I think Hutchinson's doing that on the port side, but I just don't know how. There's no obvious screen right in front of his face, so I don't know exactly how he's doing it, or whether he's just. I mean, this goes back to an earlier point. They do have, all the teams seem to have plenty of grinders, so just maybe they don't need that much power, and it's just worth having him on the boat. He's a pretty cool guy. He's pretty level-headed. I think he'd be a great person to have on a boat.
Do you know what? I mean, like, there's a really great video of him doing tactics on the Quantum TP52. And if you were a driver of a boat, he would be such a great voice to have in your ear. It's just that constant painting the picture of what's happening.
So, apart from it being asymmetric setup and that wrecking my OCD, the other thing I don't like about American Magic is that they can't. Basically, Goodison always swap sides before the jibe or before the tack, which is a massive tell, and they're the only team that still have people swapping sides. So in Bermuda, it was like the big thing of the no-look jibe.
But the tell is the foil. The tell is the foil going in though, and he doesn't have to swap.
Not for American Magic, because he goes before the foil.
Yeah, that is a bit of a tell.
So he swaps sides in a jibe about 5 or 6 seconds sometimes before the jibe, and probably about 1 or 2 seconds before attack. Depends how planned they are, I guess.
I mean, the counter argument here, though, is that obviously he can go, and then you carry on.
Yeah.
Although anyone can do that.
Yeah. And I guess they can get away, if they have to, of just slamming a jibe in. You know, in maybe some ways it's good to have that tell, and then throw in jibes and all stay on the same jibe, stay on the same side. You know what I mean? Because you can double bluff people there. Anyway, let's cut it there for American Magic. I think, yeah, it's asymmetric system, and that kind of bugs me with the lopsided nature of it. However, they have got the only flight controller who never moves, never takes his hands off the system, no transferring of it from one side to the other. And they've snuck aboard Terry Hutchinson as a grinder cum tactician. So 2 quite big benefits for the lopsidedness of their setup. And they have been going really well in the practice races, so who am I to say? Anyway, that's it for today. We'll catch back in looking at the Defenders, Emirates Team New Zealand, and their crew roles and setup. Some really interesting stuff there. Enjoy the racing. Talk to you soon.